The high walls of prison yards do more than just hold back offenders. They also shield the dark urges of guards from the view of the public, and I'll be exposing some of these secrets in this video. From guards who engaged in intimate acts with inmates and left a trail of evidence, to guards who became power drunk and committed senseless acts of cruelty, these guards preyed on the lives placed in their care, not knowing that they were being watched every step of the way. Now the truth has been exposed. Let's begin with the guard who was caught smuggling contraband into the prison, something that should never be heard of. Naisha Davis. At the Elaine Hunt Correctional Facility, Naisha Davis, a guard whose job was to ensure the security of the institution, began her shift not knowing that it would be her last in uniform. The facility, known for its strict protocols and security measures, with each member of the staff playing a role in maintaining order. Davis was no exception. She was expected to always follow the principles of the institution, ensuring the safety and security of all within its walls. As part of standard procedure, all staff members were subjected to routine scans. It was during one such scan that all hell broke loose. The scanning equipment, usually silent, sounded an alarm, signaling a discovery that would expose Davis. Hidden within Davis's body, the scan revealed an assortment of drugs, each with the potential to cause trouble in the prison's walls. Marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine were found concealed on her person, a shocking find in a place where she was tasked with preventing such contraband.
Davis has been booked into the Iberville Parish Jail and is now facing multiple charges, including possession with intent to distribute marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine.
Shanah Beum. In the city of Birmingham, England, Shanah Beum began her career, and at 25 years old, she put on the uniform of a prison officer at HM Prison Birmingham, an institution with a notorious history. During her time in this position, rumors began to reach prison officials. Begum's patrols started to change, and her presence became regular in a particular section of the prison. It was a store cupboard where supplies were kept, but it was also a place that inmates, including one named Joshua Mullings, regularly went to carry out maintenance duties. The prison authorities, sensing the potential for a scandal that could ruin their institution's integrity, decided to set up secret surveillance within the store cupboard. The footage revealed a relationship that went far beyond the professional. The cameras captured moments of flirtation, of play fighting that hinted at something far from the relationship expected between officer and inmate. There were scenes of heavy petting, but it was the evidence of sexual encounters that turned the operation from a simple surveillance task into a full-blown scandal. The footage, serving as clear evidence, showed Beum and Mullings engaging in acts of penetrative sex. On multiple occasions, Beum was seen performing oral sex on Mullings, acts that she carried out while on duty within the very walls that she was supposed to protect. Tiffany Fletcher. Tiffany Fletcher, a corrections officer at Mik Rivera Correctional Facility, was entrusted with the responsibility of overseeing the safety and security of the inmates and the integrity of the institution. However, from June to December of 2019, Fletcher's moral compass went off course as she engaged in a secret operation that would ultimately lead to her downfall. Fletcher admitted to accepting bribes totaling $4,390. The charges laid out against Fletcher were severe and numerous. Accused of accepting 5 separate bribes over the latter half of 2019, she allegedly allowed contraband to filter through the prison's defenses. The sum of money, while not huge, represents a significant breach of trust that could carry a penalty of up to 15 years in prison, financial penalties, and years of supervised release. In the case of Mik Rivera, the primary concern was cell phone smuggling. These devices, while seemingly harmless to the outside world, represent a significant threat within prison walls. They provide inmates with an unmonitored line to the outside, potentially facilitating criminal activities and undermining the institution's security. Kowana Jenkins. Late January in Fulton County Jail marked the beginning of an operation that would expose a breach of conduct within its maximum security wing. A sheriff's strike team carried out a shakedown, a careful sweep of the facility aimed at rooting out contraband and reinforcing the jail's security measures. As the team moved cell by cell, their trained eyes searched for anything out of place: weapons, drugs, and unauthorized communication devices that could connect inmates to the outside world. The air was tense as the strike team found various items, but it was the discovery of 11 cell phones that signaled a significant find. One phone in particular held evidence that would unravel the career of Kowana Jenkins. As investigators combed through the digital contents, they stumbled upon videos that captured a scene far removed from the professional conduct expected of a detention officer. Jenkins was seen engaging in an intimate act with an inmate with no regard for the boundaries of her role. In one video, she was heard saying, "You want to bring a condom so that you won't come fast," before proceeding to simulate oral on an inmate's finger. In the end, she was charged with 2 counts of improper sexual contact, 2 counts of reckless conduct, and 5 counts of violation of oath by a public officer, among others. Charlene OBrien. Charlene Diane OBrien, a 33-year-old deputy, was a familiar face in the corridors of the jail. On the other side of the bars was Jacob Parker, a 28-year-old inmate whose life had taken a turn, leading him to the cold walls of a cell. Parker, who had been in custody since March 2, 2021, was no stranger to the routines and restrictions of jail life. The jail was divided into various sections, each with its own set of rules and routines. Among these was B Quad, a housing unit that on a fateful day became the stage for a secret encounter. It was in B Quad that OBrien and Parker found themselves alone, away from the watchful eyes of security cameras and fellow staff. The area, typically lively with the activity of floor workers, was unusually quiet due to a drug issue that had swept through the jail, leaving the section without occupants. During this time, jail staff called upon volunteers from other units to perform cleaning duties, an opportunity that OBrien and Parker took advantage of. A recorded call shared between OBrien and Parker on December 17, 2021, which was played during her interrogation, was the smoking gun that implicated them.
Hey, baby.
Go back.
The confession by OBrien during an interview with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office authorities was a moment of truth. She admitted to engaging in oral sex with Parker in an area hidden from view.
And what is it?
I might have given him a back part of me.
In back part of D Quad? Okay. How long ago was that?
I don't know, 2 months ago.
Mik Rivera, a 45-year-old Kapoli native, once walked the corridors of the Federal Detention Center in Honolulu as a guardian of the law. His time as a correctional officer lasted from 2014 to 2018, a period during which he was trusted with the daily running of those behind bars. However, the trust given to Rivera by the justice system now stands stained by grave allegations. Court documents paint a disturbing picture, accusing Rivera of crossing the line from enforcer to a predator. He is alleged to have committed sexual acts with an inmate, using threats to ensure they agreed to it. The accusations do not end there. 2 other inmates have come forward, claiming to have been subjected to Rivera's sexually abusive conduct. The weight of the law has come crashing down on Rivera with a total of 17 charges, 6 counts of sexual abuse by threats and 11 counts of sexual abuse of a ward. His time looked like a normal one, but that was far from the truth. The whispers began to go around during his 4-year tenure. Inmates, once under the protection of Rivera's badge, came forward with chilling allegations. They spoke of a man who had twisted his power into a tool for evil, using threats to force them into unspeakable acts. The very individual charged with their protection and supervision had allegedly become their tormentor. Gregory Rodriguez, a veteran prison guard, served the facility for over a decade, his career starting in the early 2000s. It was here that Rodriguez was entrusted with the duty of guarding the inmates, a role demanding integrity and discipline. However, the period of his employment, which concluded with an immediate retirement, has been spoiled by a series of events that have led to a surprising 96 counts against him. The charges, which include rape, sodomy, sexual battery, and rape under color of authority, show a dark picture of abuse stretching back to 2014. Most disturbingly, the majority of these alleged assaults occurred within the last 2 years of his tenure, a period where Rodriguez's interactions with at least 13 known victims have come under intense inspection. The revelations began to surface in December, when whispers of misconduct turned into formal accusations. An internal investigation by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation revealed a pattern of alleged sexual abuse that lasted for nearly a decade. With the investigation pointing to sexual misconduct against more than a dozen inmates, the district attorney's office took the lead, and the charges laid out were as serious as they were numerous. Lenton Jerome Hatton, a man put in charge with the care and custody of inmates, abused his position in the most disgraceful manner, engaging in sexual abuse that spanned nearly a year. From October 2021 to August 2022, Hatton's actions cast a long and dark shadow over the institution. Court documents reveal a series of unlawful sexual acts engaged in by Hatton. His victims, women behind bars and powerless within the prison walls, were forced to accept his predatory advances. The nature of these crimes ranged from inappropriate touching and groping to the most evil violation of all, rape. The indictment of Hatton detailed the extent of Hatton's abuse, painting a picture of a man who had severely violated the trust placed in him by the public and the justice system. After careful deliberation, a grand jury found enough grounds to indict Hatton, formally charging him with 1 count of sexual abuse of an individual in federal custody. Hatton could spend quite some time in prison if convicted of the charge. Specifically, the sentence could be up to 15 years in a federal prison. Furthermore, the court could impose a term of supervised release, which could last from 5 years to life following any prison sentence. Additionally, Hatton may be subject to a maximum fine of $250,000, a financial penalty that shows the weight of the allegations. Markeith Counsel. In the heart of North Carolina, within the walls of the Wake County Detention Center, two lives were destined to meet. Markeith Council, a tall figure standing at 6 feet 3 inches, with a toned figure from his days as a college football player, was a guard at the facility. Weighing in at 290 pounds, Council was a man whose very presence commanded attention. His role was to maintain order, a task he approached with the seriousness it demanded. On the other side was an inmate at the detention center, Sean Demetrius McLean, a man whose life was starkly different at 5 feet 6 inches and weighing a mere 145 pounds. A brief confrontation between the two men on the 4th of June 2013 got worse and out of hand, with grave consequences. What exactly sparked the conflict remains a matter of record and rumors. However, the situation took a turn for the worse. The situation reached its tragic peak when Council, in a display of great force, picked up McLean and slammed him headfirst into the concrete floor, not once but twice. The incident, captured on the detention center's surveillance cameras, showed a disturbing use of physical power that would have lasting effects. As a result, McLean lay seriously injured, his body unable to withstand the blunt force trauma inflicted upon his head. For 13 days, he clung to life, but the injuries proved too severe. Sean Demetrius McLean passed away, leaving behind a family in mourning. Emily Watson, a 26-year-old prison officer, found herself mixed up in a forbidden affair, one that would lead to her downfall and imprisonment. Her professional journey led her to HM Prison Berwyn, a grand structure that stands as the second largest prison in Europe, a picture of modern reform in the Welsh town of Wrexham. It was within these high-security walls that Emily's path crossed with John McGee, an inmate from Liverpool serving time for a crime that had left a permanent mark on his victims. In December 2015, McGee, in a desperate bid to avoid being captured by police, engaged in a high-speed chase that ended in tragedy. With his lights off in the dead of night, he crashed into Richard Bratton, 52, ending his life and affecting many others forever. McGee's imprisonment at HMP Berwyn was meant to be a time of punishment and reflection, a period to face the weight of his actions. But as fate would have it, his encounter with Emily Watson would steer their lives onto a different course. The initial interactions between the officer and the inmate were professional. However, the seeds of an unlawful relationship were sown, and the boundaries that should have separated them began to disappear. The court would later hear how Emily, driven by an unexpected attraction, went to McGee's cell alone on 3 occasions. She carried out sexual acts on him on 2 of those occasions and had intercourse with him once. She had also sent naked pictures to him on a contraband iPhone, which he possessed in prison. Megan Hall, a married female officer, was reportedly engaged in not one but multiple affairs with her fellow officers. As the internal investigation began, the dark details began to come out to the surface. Hall, a patrol officer, was accused of engaging in sexual relationships with 6 male officers. These were not secret encounters in the shadows, but bold meetings, some allegedly occurring while on duty and within the walls of city-owned property. The implicated officers included Patrol Officer Juan Lugo Perez, Sergeant Henry Ty McGowan, Sergeant Lewis Powell, and Detective Seneca Shields. Each man was drawn into the unfolding drama, their careers and reputations hanging in the balance. The suspended officers, identified as Patrol and K-9 Officer Larry Holliday, Patrol Officer Patrick Magliocco, and Patrol Officer Gavin Schoberl, found themselves dragged down from their respected positions to a place of disgrace. The investigation, led by HR Director Andrew Patton, was careful and firm. Patton, tasked with unwrapping the truth, faced deception and denial. Initially, Hall denied the allegations, particularly those involving Powell and Magliocco. However, as the inquiry gained speed, the walls of denial began to crumble. Hall eventually admitted to the affairs, including a meeting with Lugo at a motel, a meeting that began after a seemingly innocent encounter at a go-kart center. The report painted a picture of uncontrolled misconduct. Hall was accused of sending explicit photographs, stripping down at a Girls Gone Wild hot tub party, and engaging in with 2 officers.
Sergeant Powell, where did it happen on duty?
I just gave him in the substation.
Kayla May Bergam, a resident of Belle Plaine, Kayla May Bergam had spent 3 years working as a jailer at the Tama County Jail, a role that demanded both discipline and a strict adherence to protocol. However, during the latter part of 2020, whispers began to fly around about Bergam's conduct. The rumors gained substance when an investigation by the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation was launched. The allegations were specific and serious. Bergam was accused of engaging in sexual acts with an inmate, a 29-year-old man, Christopher Kunkshan Jr. Bergam had engaged in sexual acts with the inmate on multiple occasions in places hidden from the watchful eyes of surveillance cameras, a utility closet during October of 2020, and the recreation yard in September of the same year, and again in April of 2021. These were spaces designed for the routine aspects of prison life, yet they had become the setting for something way darker. As the investigation progressed, the details that emerged painted a picture of a forbidden relationship that lasted for several months. The timeline of the alleged incidents stretched from October 2020 to April 2021, suggesting a pattern of behavior that went undetected for an extended period. She faced 3 counts of sexual misconduct with an offender classified as aggravated misdemeanors. Bergam was sentenced to concurrent prison sentences for a total of 2 years. However, in a turn of events that surprised many and raised questions about the legal system, Judge Lightfoot suspended the prison sentence, choosing instead for a sentence of probation. Jennifer Owens. Jennifer Owens, a 31-year-old correctional officer from Randallstown, Maryland, stands at the heart of a scandal that shook the foundations of the prison system. Owens has pleaded guilty to a racketeering conspiracy, admitting to her role in a secret operation that smuggled drugs and other contraband for the notorious Black Guerrilla Family, BGF gang. This gang, known for its strict structure and illicit activities, had established an iron grip on the Baltimore City Detention Center, BCDC, along with several connected institutions such as the Baltimore Central Booking Intake Center, the Women's Detention Center, and the Jail Industries Building. The BGF's influence was not limited to the inmate population. It extended to the prison staff, corrupting officers and ruining the integrity of the correctional system. Owens's involvement with the BGF began with a personal and sexual relationship with Tavon White. This relationship, which resulted in Owens bearing 2 children by White, marked the beginning of her downfall into the gang's criminal activities. As a lover of the gang leader, Owens was aware of the inner workings of the BGF and became a key figure in their contraband smuggling operations. Her position as a correctional officer provided the perfect cover for moving drugs and other illegal items past the eyes of law enforcement. According to court documents, Owens frequently smuggled Percocet pills and Suboxone strips into BCDC on behalf of White and other BGF members. From 2010 to 2011, she smuggled marijuana and tobacco into the prison 2 to 4 times per week. Colonel Thydison, Chief Joe Utanapol. In the serene province of Nakhon Sawan, Colonel Thydison Joe Ferrari Utanapol, a figure once respected for his rank and authority, now finds himself at the center of a scandal that has rocked the nation. A 24-year-old suspect named Jerome Thanapat was thrown into a nightmare that would be his last. Initially, the police told a tale of a drug overdose, a convenient explanation for the untimely death of Jerome within their custody. But the truth, as it often does, came out of the shadows, revealing a more evil cause of death. Leaked footage challenged the official story and exposed a sad reality far removed from an overdose. It was a revelation that would ignite public anger and place the Thai police under inspection by the public. The case took a turn when the 9-minute video clip, full of graphic content, surfaced and spread like wildfire. In the video, an officer, later identified as part of Colonel Thidisan's unit, was seen wrapping a plastic bag around Jirapong, Thanapat's head, an act of cruelty that made no sense. As the video went viral, the Thai authorities were compelled to act. 5 police officers from the province were swiftly detained, but 2 others, including Thydison, remained at large. As the manhunt stretched on, the police raided Thydison's home. They discovered a fleet of 13 cars, which spoke of the wealth he allegedly acquired through years of corruption. Tina Gonzalez. The Fresno County Jail, a facility designed to rehabilitate and confine those who have committed crimes, became the stage for a drama that would shock even the most seasoned veterans of the sheriff's office. It was within these walls that Tina Gonzalez's double life was exposed, a life that would lead to her downfall. Colleagues of Gonzalez began to notice mild changes in her behavior. There were whispers of her spending a strange amount of time in certain areas of the jail, and her interactions with one inmate in particular raised eyebrows. As the investigation deepened, the evidence against Gonzalez increased. Surveillance footage and witness testimonies painted a picture of a correctional officer who had not only formed an inappropriate relationship with an inmate, but had also engaged in sexual activities within the facility. The turning point came when it was discovered that Gonzalez had altered her uniform in an unprofessional and disturbing manner. She had cut a hole in her pants, a deliberate modification to make her sexual encounters with the inmate easier. This act, carried out in full view of other inmates, went against all professional ethics.
Cutting a hole in your pants to make it easier to have sex with an inmate and having intercourse in full view of 11 other inmates is something only a depraved mind can come up with.
The investigation also revealed that Gonzalez's misconduct went beyond the sexual relationship. She had been providing the inmate with contraband items, including razors and a cell phone. Assistant Sheriff Steve McComas was appalled by the revelations. In his many years of service, he had encountered various forms of misconduct, but Gonzalez's actions were of a nature he had never seen before. South African warder. A female prison warder has found herself at the center of a shocking scandal at the Encom Correctional Center in the KwaZulu-Natal region of South Africa. It began with the discovery of a video that no one could have guessed. A prison warder and an inmate caught in a moment that went against all regulations and professional ethics. The video, which quickly spread like wildfire across social media platforms, captured the warder and the inmate in a series of intimate acts building up to a sexual encounter that left viewers in disbelief. The warder and the inmate were seen engaging in these acts, seemingly unaware or unconcerned about the potential consequences of their actions being recorded. As the video circulated, the content raised alarms not only among the public, but also within the higher seats of the Correctional Services Department. The footage clearly showed the warder and the inmate kissing fervently. The scene progressed as they got half naked and proceeded to have intercourse in full view of the camera. The Department of Correctional Services was quick to respond to the incident. Singabako Nchumalo, the spokesperson for the department, expressed a mix of shock and disappointment. Appalled, embarrassed, and gutted were the words Nchumalo used to describe the collective feeling within the department. The incident was not only a personal failure on the part of the warder, but was seen as a stain on the reputation of the entire correctional system. Melissa Goodwin. A young and ambitious correctional officer, Melissa Goodwin's career began with the promise of upholding the law and maintaining order within the confines of the prison. However, allegations of an illegal relationship with a teenage inmate cast a shadow over her potential and brought her career as a correctional officer to a stop. The whispers began as murmurs among the inmates and staff, growing louder until they could no longer be ignored. It was during an internal investigation that the first threads of the alleged misconduct were uncovered. The investigation into Melissa Goodwin's conduct was carefully and thoroughly carried out, led by a team determined to uncover the truth. As detectives dug deeper, they pieced together a conclusion that suggested a series of secret encounters within the confines of Silverwater Prison. She was convicted in August of 2021 of being in a relationship with teenage inmate Corey London, with a mountain of evidence piled against her. They included secret calls through a third party, messages through Corey's mom, and even a letter to Corey in which she talked about her feelings and hopes for him, including a warning to be careful what he said to his mom about her, admitting that she was taking on risks and consequences for him. The pair were allegedly in a relationship for months, during which Goodwin allegedly made contraband like tobacco and chewing gum available to him in jail. However, at the time of her arrest, she was already dating another ex-inmate, Caleb Valerie, Joyce Mitchell. Within the Clinton Correctional Facility, a place where criminals are sent to pay their dues to society, there worked a woman named Joyce Mitchell, a 51-year-old tailor shop instructor. Her job was to watch over the inmates assigned to the tailor shop, teaching them skills that could help them get back into society upon release. Here, she first met Richard Matt and David Sweat, two inmates who would change her life forever. Richard Matt was a man convicted of kidnapping and cutting up his former boss, while David Sweat, on the other hand, was serving a life sentence for the murder of a sheriff's deputy. These men were examples of the kinds of inmates that Clinton Correctional Facility was built to contain. Yet, despite the danger they represented, Joyce Mitchell found herself drawn to them. To Mitchell, they were more than just inmates. They were people she could help, individuals she could save from the harshness of life behind bars. As the days turned to weeks and weeks to months, Joyce Mitchell's relationship with Matt and Sweat got deeper. She smuggled in tools like hacksaw blades, chisels, and a screwdriver for them. It was a risky move that could cost her everything, but to Mitchell, it was a risk worth taking. She revealed that she believed herself to be in love with one of the inmates and claimed that he made her feel special. She became an accomplice in their escape, a crime she would pay for in the weeks that followed. Gary Hayward. In New York City, a correction officer turned his badge into a business, smuggling contraband into the very place he was meant to keep secure. This is the story of Gary Hayward, a man who once upheld the law and then shockingly chose to break it for cash. His conviction for smuggling tobacco and cell phones into jail came as a shock to the correctional community and beyond. Hayward, a 38-year-old Manhattan resident, had worked at Rikers Island since the late 1990s. His journey into the world of contraband smuggling didn't happen overnight. It was a gradual process, one that started with small favors and grew into a full-fledged criminal operation. As a correction officer, he had access to areas off limits to the public and a level of trust from his superiors that he would take full advantage of. The initial discovery of Hayward's involvement in smuggling contraband shocked shocked. His colleagues. The investigation revealed that Hayward had been accepting bribes from inmates in exchange for smuggling items that were strictly prohibited within the jail walls. The list of contraband was extensive and included cell phones, which allowed inmates to communicate with the outside world, and drugs like coke, tobacco, and marijuana, which encouraged the underground economy of the prison and contributed to the instability and violence within its walls. He had been using his position to bypass security checks, using secret methods to deliver illegal goods to inmates who would pay top dollar for his services. Jacqueline Cifuentes and Chante Harris. Kansas is home to one of the most powerful pillars of the United States penal system, the Leavenworth Detention Center, a privately run maximum security federal prison. The stillness of the Leavenworth Detention Center was shattered when the veil of corruption was lifted, revealing the hidden activities of Jacqueline Cifuentes and Chante Harris. Cifuentes, a 25-year-old former officer from Laredo, Texas, is accused of smuggling batches of the trio, meth, and tobacco into the prison's grounds. These substances, known to encourage violence and disorder within the prison walls, were allegedly exchanged for bribe payments from the very inmates she was sworn to look after and supervise. Similarly, Harris, a 29-year-old from Raytown, Missouri, is charged with taking advantage of her position of power to introduce contraband into the facility in return for unlawful financial gain. The indictment paints a picture of betrayal, as it alleges that Harris not only smuggled forbidden items, but also deceived the Federal Bureau of Investigation with material misrepresentations during an interview in April 2021. According to investigations, she sold cigarettes to an inmate for $100 per pack, while the inmate sold to other prisoners for about $350 per pack. Harris was running such an operation that she even received payments via Cash App. However, during the interview in April 2021, she denied having a Cash App account and went ahead to change her username and contact details, pleading guilty to conspiracy to accept bribes and provide contraband to inmates of a federal prison. They each face penalties of up to 5 years in prison. It's obvious these prison officers felt they were above the law and could do whatever they wanted. Unluckily for them, the law is still law supreme. Enjoyed this video? Click on the ones on your screen to enjoy more.